In travel news, for March 27, 2023, we talk about the largest strike in decades to hit Germany, the ongoing protests across France, and both protests and strikes across Israel. But before we begin, I'm Brandon with the Adept Traveler, and this is Today in Travel. Israel has been experiencing protests and strikes across the country that can disrupt travel. The root cause of the growing unrest in Israel can be traced back to the government's proposed changes to the country's judicial system. These changes have been met with considerable opposition from a large segment of the population, who view the proposed reforms as an infringement on the independence of the judiciary. This has resulted in large-scale protests throughout the nation, affecting not only the operation of the Israel Defense Force, but also causing disruptions to various travel services. One of the most heavily impacted areas has been Ben Gurion Airport, Israel's primary international gateway. Ben Gurion Airport has experienced significant operational challenges due to the ongoing situation in the country. Following a labor union's announcement of a strike, the airport was forced to temporarily suspend all flights, leaving approximately 73,000 passengers stranded or facing delays. Although the airport has since returned to normal operations, the possibility of further disruption and flight cancellations remain a concern for travelers. The protests in Israel have been characterized by large gatherings of citizens voicing their opposition to the proposed changes to the judicial system. Demonstrations have included setting up bonfires, blocking streets, and disrupting daily life in cities and towns across the country. The situation has escalated to such an extent that local authorities have threatened to join the strikes in solidarity with the protesters. Additionally, some far-right parties within the Prime Minister's coalition have reportedly threatened to break up the government if the proposed judicial overhaul is not halted. The ongoing protests and strikes in Israel present various challenges for travelers planning to visit the country. These challenges include potential flight cancellations or delays, disruptions to public transportation, and possible roadblocks due to demonstrations. Furthermore, the volatile political climate may result in additional protests or strikes, making it difficult for travelers to predict the situation during their visit. If you plan on visiting Israel in the coming months, you should keep an eye on the current news coming out of the country, keep in contact with your travel advisor, and definitely purchase the travel insurance if you haven't done so already. Germany's transportation network faced severe disruptions as the nation experiences one of its largest strikes in decades. Two of Germany's major unions are demanding higher wages to cope with the rising cost of living, leading to staff at airports, ports, railways, buses, and subways walking out for 24 hours. With thousands of flights canceled at Munich and Frankfurt, the country's biggest airports, travelers must be aware of the potential impact on their plans. The mega strike has halted commuter and regional trains operated by Deutsche, Germany's largest rail operator, and suspended local transport services, including trams and buses in 7 states. This widespread action has inconvenienced travelers and local residents alike who are feeling the pinch of increased fuel and food prices. Travelers must also consider the knock-on effects of these strikes on airports, such as the disruptions experienced at Munich Airport on Sunday. The German Airport Association estimates that about 380,000 air travelers will be affected by the strike, which it deemed beyond any imaginable and justifiable measure. Both unions emphasize the importance of a pay raise for their members' survival, highlighting the overwork and underpayment faced by many employees. With employers yet to present a viable offer and further strikes threatened, including during the Easter holiday break, the situation remains uncertain for travelers. During ongoing negotiations, Germany's Interior Minister expressed optimism that an agreement could be reached soon. More than 1 million people demonstrated across France last Thursday against the controversial pension reforms, which has led to violence in some areas and unions calling for new nationwide strikes and protests this week. Travelers can expect widespread disruptions in the upcoming week, as these strikes have already significantly impacted transportation systems. Protesters have blockaded train stations, airports, and other ports, causing inconvenience and delays for those trying to travel within and outside of the country. High-speed and regional trains, the Paris metro, and public transportation systems in other major cities were heavily disrupted, forcing people to seek alternative means of transportation. Additionally, approximately 30% of flights at Paris-Orly Airport were canceled, affecting both international and domestic travel. Those planning to fly during these times should check with their airline for updates on flight cancellations or delays and prepare for the possibility of rescheduling their travel plans. The Eiffel Tower and the Versailles Palace were closed due to the strikes. Other tourist attractions and public spaces may also be closed or have limited access as the result of the protests. Travelers should monitor local news and updates from tourist sites and stay informed about closures or restricted access to popular attractions. Violence has intensified in recent days, with street battles between police and masked groups occurring in Paris and other cities. In Paris, police were pelted with Molotov cocktails, random objects, and fireworks, forcing them to use tear gas to disperse rioters. While many protests march peacefully, the presence of violence groups can pose a risk to bystanders and travelers, as unions call for new nationwide strikes and protests on Tuesday. Travelers should anticipate ongoing disruption to transportation and the closure of tourist sites. It is essential to stay updated on the latest news, avoid areas where demonstrations are occurring, and maintain a flexible itinerary to ensure personal safety during this period of unrest. Travelers should also consider having a backup plan, such as alternative transportation options or accommodations. Keeping in touch with local contacts, embassies, or consulates may also provide helpful information and support during this time. By staying informed and prepared, travelers can navigate the challenges posed by the strikes and protests while visiting France. Today in Travel is brought to you by The Adept Traveler, a travel agency that specializes in accessible travel. Our goal is to help all travelers, from the novice to the expert, from the able-bodied to the disabled, to travel well. Until next time, travel well, my friends.